So we've been working on the American Frontier series, and one of the things that happens in the frontier is shelter. We have to be able to make different kinds of shelter. When we're in this frontier situation, we also have a very limited set of tools. We undoubtedly have our belt knife with us. Here's my belt knife. You might have a belt axe, and if you want to get anything done at all, you have to have a real axe. And right here I've got sort of a middling sized forest axe. These are available on our website right now. A wonderful little axe is made in Sweden, have a very kind of period shape for the say 1800 or so, late 18th century. Great little axe, but it's so much easier to build the shelter if we have more than just the axe. One of the tools that we can make with an axe, and just an axe, is a maul or a giant wooden hammer. This starts to get really handy if you've got one of these. They're a great tool to make. It doesn't take very long, and you make it right out of the resources you have available to you right around you here in the woods, and all we need is the axe to make one. So let's go out in the woods, find just the right tree, and begin to make one of these mauls. So we're looking for a wood that's fairly dense, heavy, doesn't split too easily, but is still fairly easy to work. A tree that might work for this would be an oak tree. A hickory tree might make a good maul, or in this case, an ash tree. And ash is an excellent wood, a really good wood for tool handles. But in this case, we're going to make the whole tool out of this. Now, all the ash trees in this area have been attacked by the emerald ash borer. They've all been damaged, so it's really not a shame that we cut any of these trees. They're all probably going to die anyway. So this is our tool tree, and we want something that's got some heft to it, although we'll probably make several different sizes. We want a spot where the grain of the wood mixes itself up and makes it hard to split. There's a nice little spot here where 3 or 4 branches come together. That little spot there looks like a great spot. So we're going to cut down this tree so that we can make a 3 or 4 foot handle. I can cut it off about right here. That'll make it really easy to cut. Okay, our tree is down. Now it's time to cut this into smaller pieces because, of course, we don't want to have to haul this whole tree back to our work area. We could do everything right here, but I want to head back to camp. So I'm going to cut this into several different sections. There's an obvious spot about 4 feet up that we're going to cut it. There's a really good spot right here too where there's a fork in the tree. I'll probably come up and make some smaller ones out of a piece like this or like that. Those will also make nice small mauls that'll be just for lighter work. So let me get this cut up. So we're going to set these other 2 pieces aside. We're going to start on this one. I've shortened it up just a hair. You know, we can peel the bark off this. We have to, some of these, depending on the time of year, the bark comes off rather easy. On this ash, the bark's going to come off pretty easy this time of year. It's kind of slippery underneath, but it will actually help us in some ways. So if the bark comes off easily, might as well go ahead and do that. Here we are at the head portion. We're gonna save this for later. This is kind of easy touch-up work. The main thing here is that we need to get down to the handle on this. And if we had a saw, we would actually come in and we would saw down about halfway, or I'm sorry, a third of the depth of this entire log. We'd saw it all the way around, and then we would strip this wood off. In this case, of course, we don't have a saw to work with. So what we're going to do is cut in here with the axe and get this slimmed down. So let's get started on, I'm just gonna come in here and get down into this handle section. It goes without saying, if you're using really sharp tools, and it's so much easier if you're using really sharp tools, you gotta be really careful about where these edges go and how you're gonna work with it. So we probably haven't gotten all the way through like we want to yet, but now I'm gonna reverse this cut. This is slippery, so you certainly have to be careful. And cut back on this just so we can see how deep we are going. So I've gotten pretty close to the diameter I want for the handle down further. Now all I have to do is split this wood off and get this handle to show up. Every place though, we've got a knot. There's a little knot there. There's certainly this is probably the biggest knot. That's gonna cause us a lot of trouble. I'm gonna mess up our handle there and we'll have to fight that. That's typical, but if we're careful about how we pick our piece of wood, we might be able to find a piece like in the tree trunk that there aren't any of these kind of branches that cause us problems. We just have this one right here. We'll work around that. But I'm gonna start splitting this wood off to get down to the handle. We can keep working this handle down until we get to something that might feel good in our hands, maybe just a little bit bigger. Now, if we have access, it might be a good time to bring out something a little bit smaller. Your carving knife, if all you've got is your standard belt knife, then we can start to use our belt knife here. We don't have like a draw horse or anything to get this handle down really smooth, so we're gonna use our knife to do what we can. We're gonna sneak in here and find those rough edges so our hands don't get torn up, and smooth all these sharp spots off. So this is a quick and dirty tool. It doesn't have to be beautiful. We just want to clean it up to enough so that we don't hurt our hands when we're handling it. I did leave a little bit of extra kind of flare here at the end of the handle so it doesn't want to fly. Your hand doesn't want to fly off if you're kind of wielding it, so you got a good grip. I went ahead and just kind of made this medium long. I didn't want to make it super long, but you can see it can feel pretty good in your hands. Now I'm just going to come up here, trim off the head a little bit, probably strip the bark off of that too, and then this is almost ready to go. So here's our pretty much finished up piece. I mean, we could keep touching this up. We could spend 2, 3, 5 hours on this, making it a little bit better. But if we want to just get to start using it, then it's in fine shape as we get it. We can grip this easily. It's not going to hurt our hands, and we can start using it. And you can kind of see it's because of these knots, we've kind of got some working surfaces. We can pound with any part of this head, really. But these are kind of a good placement here. And I went ahead and left a little bit of weight up here to have weight on the top side of the head to help push that down, because you don't want to, have to work yourself. You want the weight of this thing to do the work for you. So this is pretty good. Now, we might want to make with the other pieces, maybe one with a shorter handle, so you can use it like a hammer with just one hand. This is kind of a two-handed piece. You can still wield it with one hand, just not easily. But it can be really useful in a lot of different ways. So we'll want to make multiple ones of these. Short handle one, a little bit smaller. Maybe even we want one that's much bigger to hit logs and move them out of the way, right? Or just nudge them slightly in a building. So there's this. These are super simple, easy to make. And once you make your own tool, they kind of become something special. Just like this axe. This axe comes with a beautiful handle on it. But it turns out that this style of handle is really a mid-19th century style of handle. When this handle starts to break and not get perfect, the best thing to do with these is to make your own handle for this axe, and then it really becomes your axe with a handle that you made and starts to become really special. Well, these tools are just like that too. As we work on these, and of course if we made 5 or 6 or half a dozen of these, one of them would be our favorite and we would go back to it over and over again. It's just that way. Sometimes tools, especially tools, once you get used to a particular one, boy, that's the one you want to use. So these things are a lot of, very easy to make and a lot of fun to use. It makes a project that you have to use a tool extra special when you're using tools that you made. And another great feature of these is that you can use them to pound on your metal tools without busting your metal tools. If you used another axe to cut or to smash the backs of this axe to use it like a wedge, you would deform the eye and start to ruin this axe head. When we use a wooden maul or a mallet like this, it's not going to damage that. This is going to deform first, so it's a very important tool for that aspect too. Keep watching as we continue to go through this American Frontier series. We've got some structures that we're going to be building, a couple different places, a couple different kinds. We'll be using tools just like this to make these. It's going to be a fun series as we continue to work on these. I want to thank you for all your wonderful support, and thanks for watching today.